All right, folks, coming up, we hear more about the cannabis documentary, and that comes up after the break. Rooney will have that one. So come, stay with us, please.
This morning to tell us more about one of the most anticipated documentaries, Canex founder Douglas Gordon. Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Smile. It's good to have you. I apologize for all the off-camera shenanigans. That's not how we usually are.
That's unfortunate. That was quite entertaining.
That's how we usually are. Welcome to Smile. This is interesting. This is exciting. Are we ready for this?
Absolutely. I mean, the world is ready for this. And I think part of what we have to process and understand is that the world is much further along in being receptive, curious, and really engaged around cannabis, what cannabis can do for the human body, what it can do for the mind from a therapeutic perspective. And so what we're really trying to do through this production is connect all of this global progress to, Jamaica, and the role that Jamaica has played is really far outsized in its influence. A lot of it's cultural, a lot of it's the Jamaican story of ganja, and just the use of that word, which we've sort of, as we got legal, we stopped using the word. It became cannabis, and cannabis is a word, but ganja is a uniquely Jamaican concept. And so I think it's really important to put the power back into that word and the pride.
What, Douglas? That's really an interesting point. We've dressed it up, made it fancy, put it in a three-piece suit, called it cannabis.
Yeah.
Right? But really, it's ganja, trenches.
Let me tell you, when this market started to go legal globally, and I go to all these different conferences, one of the key things you would always hear is that flower is a commodity, right? So it's all about finished products, it's all about refined, uses of cannabis, right? And so we all accepted that. But the only flower around the world that is a finished product is Jamaican ganja, and it's just time that we start to recognize that if we don't take this seriously, we're taking this wonderful asset that has been built. And I don't mean to put it in the context of just economic benefit. I'm talking about, when Bob Marley and Peter Tosh spoke about ganja, it wasn't cool. They were putting their own visas and so forth at potential risk.
Yeah.
But this was important to them.
We talk about geotagging things and geolocators, and we talk about jerk as one of those for Jamaica, but ganja really is one too. We've kind of dropped the ball on this.
We've absolutely dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And it's terrible.
Do you explore that aspect in the documentary?
Yeah, one of the things we look at is, yes, the cultural and musical heritage, but we also tell the story at Canex. But all these people from around the world who've come to Jamaica and who are doing work all around the world, but this becomes that sort of central reference point through it all, and I think it's very important that we, in the Caribbean in particular, who've been so, I don't want to call it conservative, because I really think that there's been this sort of bury your head in the sand approach to cannabis, where people have given it to their children or grandmas have given it to their families. And then we sort of pretend, oh, no, it's bad. It's a bad thing. No, we've had the benefit of the therapeutic benefits for eons.
In the tea, in the oils, So let me ask you, why did you think it was important, with all this history you've given, to tell this story now?
Well, I'll be straightforward. I feel very blessed in that, all the work that we've done with the conference to bring people here and elevate this conversation.
That's what Canex is, right?
That's what Canex is.
For those who don't know.
It's really Elvira Guzman, who's based in LA. So she's been to Canex before, but it was her idea to say, why don't you create a documentary around this? And, the idea just came together so readily. And as much as in the beginning, people were like, on what grounds do you have to talk about ganja?
Is that what they asked you?
That's not what they asked me. That's what they said in some not so lovely language.
Oh,
but it was a fair assessment.
And why not you?
Look, at heart, I'm a Caribbean person. I want to see the Caribbean thrive. I want to see the Caribbean people prosper. And ganja represents something that we have here in the Caribbean and right here in Jamaica that a lot of blood, sweat, and tears have fallen for. And so the idea of it not being taken seriously, the idea of it not being put on a professional and a serious platform to really get the benefit of that, to me is it's not okay. And what I see in a population of 3 million people here in Jamaica, with 5 million plus tourists coming annually, and a world that recognize Jamaica for what it's done for ganja. You're talking about being able to change people's lives in this country like no other industry. The economic benefit that can come from even 10% of those tourists actively consuming cannabis. And I don't mean just smoking.
Right.
I mean in terms of massage and spa, aromatherapy services that infuse cannabis.
When is the 6th Canex?
It's October 20th and 21st.
So you're launching there?
Yes.
In Vegas?
Well, no, we're going to launch it here, and then we're going to have an event in Vegas, which
in
is
November.
for Marley One, and we'll bring God Ganja into it.
And so some of the people featured in the documentary, I see Graham Smallgun, First Man Bushman, Anthony Anderson, the Marleys, members of Parliament, and many others.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're telling stories about their own interaction with the products, and then the politicians will be speaking from a politician's standpoint.
Well, it's
government
interesting.
standpoint.
I mean, there's some folks who've already been interviewed.
Yeah.
And, one in particular, Babsy Grange was talking about her mother's experience. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing that we miss. There's this very sort of, standoff, esoteric kind of perspective, but it's a very real thing that affects people's lives. Folks who will tell you about their 60, 70-year-old grandmother who has to choose about which kids to play with because of the aches and pains.
Yeah.
She has CBD or she has some cannabis rub, and all of a sudden she has back movement of all her body without the pain. So, there's theoretical, there's conceptual, but there's also very practical.
Is it education
experience that people
and a
have.
little bit of advocacy, you think?
Totally.
Yeah.
But it's through the lens and through the voice of people talking about their own experiences.
Correct. Gotcha.
And then we also have in there, global leaders, like people who are doing work in a regulatory environment, from a scientific perspective, a medical application, all around the world.
You launch in October, you air here in October, big launch in November. January, the rest of us get to see it?
January, we will launch it. We will have a series of markets that we'll go into. We really want to do this at a very high level. We've been fortunate so far, insofar as securing different partners. PRI Wellness is one who's really backed us for this, and that's a Jamaican-owned businessman, Omar Barnard, who's based in LA.
Okay.
But we want more partners, who can really help us to take this forward. We think we'll have the quality, and we think we'll have the content that will really tell this story in a powerful way. And that starts all the way from the legacy farmers through to the indigenous communities of Rastafari, all the way through to bankers and politicians that you talk about that have the ability to change this narrative and broaden the conversation.
And policies. Gotcha, Douglas. Sounds interesting. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, good.
Thank you so much for being here to share this with us this morning. Canex founder, Douglas Gordon, talking to us. And the name of the documentary is?
It's Got Ganja.
It's Got Ganja.
No, just Got Ganja.
Oh, I knew that. Got Ganja, that's what I said. Right, Nev? That's not what I said. Got Ganja. All right, thanks, Douglas. Appreciate it. Coming up next, we have a fun stop, a funner stop, because we've been having fun all morning. We're back with more on Smile.